Mustaches One Ride.
Hey, what's up? This is Two Mustaches One Ride. As you can tell by our faces, that's Zane. I'm Brett. The podcast is pretty much going to focus on kind of news articles, memes, video games, and basically we drink and we know things.
Sweet. Okay. So what topic do you want to start with?
I figured kind of just go down the list. Start off.
So we're gonna start with the killing of Tim McLean.
yeah. You know what? Why not? It's an interesting topic for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's putting it lightly for a heavy subject. Like, welcome to the podcast. We're gonna talk about a 22-year-old Canadian man who was stabbed, beheaded, and cannibalized while riding a Greyhound bus. So yeah, I came across this story. I guess we're gonna talk about it later, but TikTok kind of tipped it off of like, hey, have you ever heard about this dude? And I was like, what the fuck is that? And I looked it up. So this dude, Vincent Lee, Chinese dude, stabbed, beheaded, and cannibalized this guy, Tim McLean, while riding in the Trans-Canada Highway. Even, like, going further than that, the weird thing is that he was found not criminally responsible for the murder, which is insane. But it says that because he's a schizophrenic, which, sure, but still. Like, that's insane. Like, how do you stab, behead, and then cannibalize someone, and they're like, hey, actually, the voices in my head said to do it, so, I think it's fine, you know, like, this dude's out in the open, too, like, he's just kind of hanging out. He was remanded to a high-security mental health facility in Manitoba, where he was detained until his release in 2015. So he was only required to go to this mental health facility for less than 10 years. They're like, yeah, he's fine, actually. You don't just randomly have schizophrenia for, like, 10 years. I don't know. I'm not a mental doctor, but I don't think you just get schizophrenia and then, like, less than 10 years later, like, oh, yeah, I'm good now. I won't behead and eat people anymore. Sorry.
Right? Like, I feel like it'd be one thing if, like, he just stabbed him once or something out of, like, I don't know, whatever health episode he's going through, and then it ended at that. I'd be a little bit more inclined to be like, okay, maybe like something did happen, but like that was a very, like, he stabbed him a couple of times and then like pulls him into the bathroom, and then that's where like he like beheads him and like eats him. Like that's a whole nother level of mental health problems. Like, I mean, what was this dude? What was the movie? The M. Night Shyamalan one? Where he's like the Beast.
Yeah. That was my other personality. Split. There it is.
There you go. Nice. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Was this dude Split?
yeah, for real. But the other thing that like blew me away is like, you don't just behead. Like, beheading is not. It's not like the movies where it's like one queen, and then like it's over. Like, you're in there hacking away for a while, especially once you get to the middle of the neck. Also, he ate the dude. So, like, this is a Greyhound bus. It's not like an empty bus, and he wasn't the driver. So, what happened? And it says here, so the dude got on board. Lee was described as a tall man in his 40s, shaved head and sunglasses, sat near the front of the bus, and moved to sit next to McLean during his scheduled rest stop in Brandon. McLean barely acknowledged Lee and then fell asleep against some window pane, headphones covering his ears. Then he was attacked while he was sleeping by Lee by a large knife and began stabbing him in the neck and chest. After the attack began, the bus driver pulled to the side of the road, and he and all the other passengers fled the vehicle.
Yeah.
We just left him. I said, fuck it, dude. The driver and two other men made an attempt to rescue McLean, but they were chased away by Lee, who slashed at them. What, did you not, like, call anyone? So it says, like, at 6:55 is when he got on the bus. It doesn't say exactly when the stabbing started. Gotta imagine it was fairly around there, though. And 8:30 is when they received the report. So you just didn't call anyone for, like, an hour and a half and let him go to town on this dude? Like, holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it says
Can we get a picture of this guy? What did... He was a menial worker. What is a menial worker?
It said before, 4 weeks before the killing, he was fired from Walmart.
There you go. Don't work in Walmart. You might
There you go.
get schizophrenia and stab and eat people.
And you know what? That's actually kind of par for the course when I think of Walmart. You know?
Oh yeah, there he is.
No one from Target is going to go and kill someone. Target knows how to vet its employees.
Oh man, yeah, that's really all I wanted to say about it. Oh yeah, but how the fuck? So, in the trial, he accepted the offense that occurred, but claimed he was unable to form the necessary mental element or mens rea. I'm butchering that pronunciation. The schizophrenia rendered. I'm sorry, what?
I think it was just Latin for like like a lot of our. There's a lot of like legal stuff, and then there's like a Latin phrase, the Latin phrase for it, I guess.
Well, I'm not.
That's what that was.
I'm not quite fluent in Latin. I'm still working on it, but.
Well, yeah, me either.
Here we go. So here's what happened. In Lee's mind, McLean was really a demon in disguise and an alien who needed to be destroyed, to the point where he felt it was necessary to mutilate his body to prevent him to coming back to life. And he felt pressured to perform the attack by voices he believed were from God.
Yeah, I saw that. And I mentioned, where'd it go? I just saw it. Oh, hang on. I think I know why this was brought up. It's gone full circle.
Okay.
Did you see where he graduated from?
No.
Vince Lee. Graduated from Wuhan Institute of Technology.
Oh.
It all makes sense now. He was pre-COVID.
Oh, man.
He was the precursor to COVID. He was what COVID was supposed to be, is what I'm guessing.
Well, COVID's just making you break off into schizophrenia and start stabbing and eating people. Well, I think I'll take the part that, or the version we got then.
Yeah.
I don't need 28 days later, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Speaking of, you see they're making it in 28 months?
Why?
Yeah, 20 months later?
Why? You already did days, weeks. I mean, it was like 28 decades later. It was like a futuristic space travel zombie flick. Like, didn't they kind of tie it all off in 28 weeks later?
I mean, no. The very end, you see zombies running in Paris.
I thought 28 weeks later was the one after like the entire world got kind of smacked by it. No? I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen them.
Great soundtrack.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Yeah.
I think the interesting one with the aftermath of this, it's right at the top there, was their slogan. Yeah. It's a reason you've never heard of bus rage.
Who soon?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just wild. They're like, yeah, actually, you know what? Because like, if you have like a long-standing record of mental health stuff, which then is I don't know. There's just a whole lot of things that doesn't make sense about this. Like, if someone, I mean, if this is his only, it looks like it's his only like physical lashing out due to mental health. That's one thing, but like, I feel like that's not someone you want. Because what if I did that? What if I'm like, oh yeah, God told me that this was a demon and he made me kill him? Like, how would that? Like, well, you were fine before. I'm like, no, I'm crazy. You know, like it just sounds like
It has
wild.
It has happened in the past with the Son of Sam. The Son of Sam had like the same thing. Basically, he was going around New York, and shooting people, and his claim was that his dog was telling him to do it because his dog was God or some shit. But he didn't do 10 years and then get out. Son of Sam. David Berkowitz, yeah. I think he got life imprisonment.
See, that makes sense.
Yeah, in the 70s. Killed 6, wounded 11, including 2 stabbings in New York. Yeah, he used a .44 Bulldog revolver.
Did he also have a bulldog?
I could be wrong about the dog part, but I'm pretty sure it was his dog that he was telling him to do it.
Because that sounds like that sounds like a TV show plot or something, or a movie plot.
I know it's been portrayed in movies before. Suspicion, arrest. Okay, so this confession should say it. He claimed that his neighbor's dog was one of the reasons that he killed, stating the dog demanded the blood of pretty young girls. He said that the Sam mentioned in his first letter was his former neighbor Sam Carr, and that Harvey, Carr's black Labrador, was possessed by an ancient demon which issued irresistible commands that Berkowitz kill people. So, yeah. But, yeah, the problem is, too, later he said in 1979 that he declared that his previous claims of demonic possession were a hoax. So,
yeah. No one's buying it. It's not even your dog. You're like, oh, my neighbor's got a dog.
Oh, that's hilarious. And then he became an evangelical Christian while in prison. I think you should stay away from the whole church thing, man.
Yeah, it didn't work out the first time, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
So you want to talk about the French riots?
Yeah. So I saw on Twitter is where I found it. Kind of go more into the social media stuff in a little bit, but yeah, basically now the French police are like, yeah, we're going to be part of the resistance now, and this all kind of stemmed from there's some economic problems going on, but most recently, these protests were in charge or because of his last name's Nahel or something like that. I could be mispronouncing that pretty bad.
Nadal?
No, Nahel, Nahel. He was a 17-year-old kid who refused to stop.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's video of the cop, like, leaning on the windshield, pointing a gun at him. They ended up killing him. And then, turns out they passed a 2017 firearms law where French police officers are allowed to shoot a driver if they ignore an order to stop, which is wild. There's certainly circumstances where I could see that definitely being like, hey, we need to be able to do this. Like if you're trying to protect an embassy or something, and then there's a driver that's obviously trying to run the gate or something, then that's kind of like one thing. But like a standard like traffic stop seems a bit extreme.
Just slightly.
Yeah.
Hey, your taillight's out. I gotta go, man. I'm sorry. I'll get the ticket later. And just fucking bop, 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 bop. Less paperwork for me. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, imagine, you're just like, officer, I really gotta go poop. Like, I really gotta, like, can you just follow me?
Just follow me, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, now I gotta shoot you. Like, how does that... Okay. No, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah, no, like, this is the second time that there's been a lot of riots in France. I remember, oh man, it was like a month or so ago. Remember when they were talking about, it was during the TikTok ban hearings.
Trials, yeah.
And then there's all these riots going on in France, and it's like, oh, look up France in like Instagram or Facebook, and you don't see anything, and you do it on TikTok, and then it's covering all these stories.
Yeah. Yeah, France has been, like, at unrest for more than a year now. And it is interesting. It's not just Instagram and Facebook, though. It's literally, like...
Oh, yeah, in the news, too.
Yeah, all of the news. No one's touching this. It's very interesting. Like, I get it. Like, we're Americans. Americans only seem to care about what's happening in America. Like, you don't hear any news about any other countries except for maybe a little bit of Russia and Ukraine right now.
Yeah.
But you don't hear about like the assassinations that have been happening in like the Philippines and other countries around there. The different, I think they touched a little bit about the China, Russia, and India establishing their own currency, but it doesn't get touched on very much. But TikTok does, and most of that's because they're independent reporters and stuff like that are posting videos, and those kind of topics, you know, if it fits into your For You page or something like that, it starts blowing up and stuff and gets a lot of attraction. Whereas your traditional reporters, they're hired by different companies of like Washington Post, New York Times, stuff like that, and then it gets sent up to the editors and stuff, and they might say like, oh well, this isn't really the angle we want to take, like this, we're going to push this to the side, we want to talk about, you know, Kim Kardashian getting anally like fucking blasted again, you know, like somehow that's more important. But
yeah, you ever see the video where like it splices all the different news channels together? They're all reading like the same script, talking about how they're like it's dangerous for news to like follow scripts or something like that. It's just like the whole thing's hypocritical, and it's like across different states.
I haven't, but that makes sense. Yeah, I'm more of a fan of independent reporters. I will say that because I know some people that will literally see news in TikTok, and they're like, "This is the word of God. This has to be 100% accurate," and they don't verify like any sources or anything like that. So it's about as useful as going to like Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, Wikipedia for your facts. Like, can't take it face value all of the time, but it can be a good sort. Like usually what I'll do is like for example, like there's protest, or like another good one was the coup going on in Russia, and when they started doing all that, I initially saw it on TikTok, and I'll just see that of like the coup starting. And I'm not going to just be like, oh, there's a coup in Russia. Like, everyone freak out. But then I'll start doing some research and be like, okay, here's some other sources of, like, backing into this story. Because there are actual, like, mainstream reportings that come out for this kind of stuff, but they're just not your American ones, typically.
Yeah, same thing for me. Is I found out about the coup going on in Russia via TikTok. I think it was that video I sent you where it was, like, the opening to Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah.
And it was, like, CIA right now. Good news, the world's fucked. Civil war in Russia, and I was like, "Hold on a second, is this real?" And then I went, and I was like, and then it was wild. I think the frustrating thing for me is so like American news especially is like there's always like an agenda, and like it's never really just straight facts. Like, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what we know, and then you at the end of that, then you can throw in like your thoughts or whatever. And I think that's fine. But like there's always like spins, and it's so hard to, because then the extreme of that is like if you go to just rely on, like you're talking about specifically social media alone on your news, because then you have like agendas and whatnot, and then you have unverified and then reporting, and then it's annoying how much effort it takes to get just the story or just the facts of like what's going on.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the same of, like, remember when Osama bin Laden was assassinated? And Fox News was really big about trying to be the first ones to report it. And they messed up, and when they reported it, they said, Obama has been assassinated. Because they just mass confusion, and then they were just like, this coming in, Obama's been assassinated, and it showed them the headline and stuff like that. And then I remember that. 10-15 minutes later, CNN was like, Osama bin Laden's been assassinated, and they're like, oh,
ooh, that's a wrong letter.
Yeah,
not even close. I mean, kind of close. Like,
So,
hot take on that one, real quick. I think we broke that news too fast.
Yeah,
I think we should have waited before we broke that news.
Yeah, but oh well. That was what, 10 years ago? More than that now.
Oh man, I think it was still in. I think it was still no more. So I think that might have been like 2011.
Yeah, I was thinking about that time frame because you said you were in Lemoore, and I was going to say I was in high school, but
Yeah. I mean, I also was in school. I also went to school in the war. So
oh,
yeah, I remember seeing some stuff on that. Yeah, I remember looking at some stuff there. Yeah.
but yeah, France being under unrest is pretty shitty. I did a port call in Marseille, and Marseille was beautiful.
I love Marseille. Yeah.
One probably top 5 cities in Europe for me.
Interesting.
Yeah, that might be a bit of a hot take. It's close, but a lot of the main cities that people like go for, like Paris, for example.
I didn't like Paris.
No, London, like a lot of those major cities you go to, and they're not as great as you think. You go to the outlying places, they're a lot better. Another good one, although I will say Rome was actually really awesome, and it has a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
I also pulled into Naples, so Naples is kind of a
Stark difference.
yeah, it's kind of a shithole, but
Yeah.
the food and the people, well, some of the people are pretty awesome there. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Italians are great.
Marseille is a beautiful place, so it's shitty to see this kind of stuff happening there.
Yeah, I've been to Marseille, Cannes, and then Paris. So I actually had like I didn't like the reason I like Paris don't like Paris isn't because I had a bad experience. It was fine. I never actually ran into any rude people. I know like Parisians are notorious
Really?
for being rude.
You didn't run
Yeah.
into any rude people?
No.
Oh.
I don't really speak. I don't really remember much of it anymore. But I used to know some French because I took a year of French when I was in high school, and my dad used to give me shit about it all the time. Because I went to school in California, so obviously not a lot of French speakers up there.
Yeah.
So I mean, it didn't really pay out until, geez, when did I finally go to Paris? 2000, I want to say like 16 or 17. So it took about 10, 11 years for it to finally pay off. But I texted my dad. I was like, hey, it's good that I took that year of French. Because like if you start the conversation off in like French, and then like, hey, parlez-vous anglais, then they're a lot more amenable to you. Yeah, because especially down in the French Riviera, oh my gosh, those people were super nice. Yeah, it's for me. Paris is just too sprawled out. Everything's so far apart, and like the train, like they actually have like a train, like underground train. Like those stops aren't really close to a lot of the places, other than like the Louvre. And the Louvre is absolutely massive.
Yeah.
Mona Lisa, overrated. There's like a cool Angels and Demons painting on the left side.
They put up a poster of what's that dude's name? The guy, Keanu Reeves playing Constantine, like right next to the Mona Lisa, and you're just like,
Yeah.
wow, that is beautiful.
Beautiful.
Speaking of, they're talking about making another Constantine movie.
I saw a tweet about it, which I'm inclined to believe it because he was on a talk show.
Yeah, I think it was Conan.
He asked him like, "Hey, what role would you want to play or reprise if that hasn't been asked of you yet?" And he said Constantine.
Yeah, and everyone was like blown away. Like, really? Like they haven't reached out to you? And he's like, no.
Yeah, right?
And I loved like that was his #1 movie, and I agree. Like, I think Constantine's kind of one of his lesser known movies, but that movie is so good. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to remind myself to watch that again. Actually, I might do that tomorrow.
Me too. Yeah, there you go. France is a weird, like politically mostly, just because like looking at the history of it, and everything that's happened to France in European history, and like how kind of wishy-washy they are with a lot of countries, and actually historically kind of side with Russia on a lot of stuff. So
yeah,
they're in a bit of a pickle now.
In other news, Alex actually put a pretty good suggestion talking about the critique of early access games. So, other thing with the Two Mustaches One Ride, we're a bunch of gaming nerds. We play video games all the time. So, yeah, he brought up the point of early access games and the disregard for quality and consumer trust, which It's pretty big for me as well. Like, as you know, I played a ton. I play a lot of random games. I play some really weird shit. But also, I dumped a lot of time in a game called Gridiron. And Gridiron was an early access physics-based football game.
Yep.
It had a lot of promise. Like, it was very raw, but they launched it in early access, and people were like constantly dumping like, hey, you should try this, you should try this, you should invest in this. And instead of like trying to fix a lot of that stuff, they more sided for like dumping advertising into big name streamers that would play it for like a day and then stop playing it and never play it again. Because it had issues. Like, they focused on the advertisement more than they did the quality of the actual game. I will say that Gridiron didn't go for the money-grabbing tactics that Alex is talking about here, but yeah, the game ended up dying because they just didn't invest in the right shit. And it's really common, actually, that I've played a lot of early access games, like, oh man, I'm really excited for this, and they'll stay in early access for like fucking 7-8 years and then just die because they don't have the funding, they don't put it in the right assets, or nothing happens at all and they just let it die. And I hate that excuse of like, oh, it's early access though. Fuck that.
I think the original intent of early access has been grossly abused, more or less. I think the point of early access is for like indie developers that have like the basis of a game and like, hey, like this is a playable game. We have some content here, but like, they need funding to keep going, or because they need more, they want to invest more time into this. And then if you can get it in early access and get people to buy it, then and fund you and or your indie studio, then you can start. All right, now we can put more assets towards it, and then eventually, have a 1.0 release at some point. I think that should have been or is the original intent of early access, and it's just been abused. And then like because then like you're talking about like there's games that are in early access that are releasing DLC, and it's like, shouldn't you have a 1.0 first before we add DLC here?
It's actually insane. Actually, Alex breaks it down pretty good for the exploitive money grabbing. It's like they're releasing half-baked, bug-ridden games using early access as a guise for incomplete, unpolished experiences, and they're charging them for these games, meaning that they're prioritizing the profit. It's not really. The one little thing I'd say that I differ from is it's not always the profit over the quality. Sometimes, like if it's a 1 to 10 person like project, they need the money to even dump in there. My problem is they don't prioritize that profit that they get from the game into the quality and satisfaction. So I think one game that's doing it right now is like the finals. The finals, they're having a limited access, which I will say that's probably going to lead to server issues when the game releases. If it releases as big as I think it will, it's going to have a huge influx of players, and their servers are not going to be able to handle that, and you're going to have a lot of quality of life issues when it launches. But they limited it to a smaller group of people to be able to test the game. It's completely free to do it. And even then, they give you in-game currency to buy the battle pass and everything, so you don't have to spend a penny on it if you don't want to. And I think that's great. And then they ask you for like, hey, fill out the survey, what would you like about it, what did you not like about it? Which is a great way to do it, but that does not happen often.
Yeah. My dad beta tested a number of games, and then I've also had the privilege of beta testing a few games as well. And the purpose of those is like, hey, here's it's free access to an incomplete game, or ideally if it's in beta, then it's pretty close to being done. And then the point is like, hey, let's test the servers, let's test the gameplay, find bugs. And then it's kind of like crowdsourcing your QA basically. And then if you participate in the beta, the idea is that you give feedback. Ideally, not like, oh, this game sucks, like nothing like that. Like, hey, I noticed like frame rate drops in this area, or like these skills don't work, or it looks like these damages aren't consistent with whatever, and that's a lot of fun, and I think that's a good way of. It's mostly for like MMORPGs are the ones where I've beta tested. Yeah, I think that's a good way, but it's like now they're combining beta testing with it's like it's basically like paid beta testing, or you're buying into beta test games.
Yeah. Yeah, I think another game that did it really well was BattleBit. Even though I have personal issues with the game, that's just my play style, and like the things that it advertises towards, it doesn't really tickle my fancy. But they did it right. Again, a closed group of people that were able to test it. Very little advertising too. Like I don't even know how Alex found the game, but he was the one who introduced it to me, and then I was waking up at like 5 a.m. on Saturdays just to like play the early access, and I'd fill out the surveys and everything, and then they launched, and that game has blown up. It's insane how popular the game is. I can't scroll through TikTok without seeing BattleBit. My friends list, no one's playing anything but BattleBit.
Yeah.
I don't know how a game that's just Roblox reskin, how it gets that popular, but it did, so good on them.
I mean, look at Minecraft. Minecraft, there was no I don't know if there's... I mean, in recent years there's been advertising, but prior to that, it was only advertised via word of mouth. And that thing, it is what it is now. I remember I got into, I guess, the alpha or beta or whatever. I don't remember what they called it, but basically the creative mode was free, and then you had to buy, it was like $8 for the survival mode. Yeah.
I didn't play Minecraft until I was a full-blown adult. I think when I was
I was too.
When I was in England was the first time I played Minecraft.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like I was like 23, 24 years old. Like this is only a couple of years ago, the first time I played Minecraft. But
let's see here. I got it in like 2010.
Okay.
So I was 22.
Yep, I was in 10th grade.
Yeah.
You old motherfucker.
Dude,
how old are you now? 36?
35. I turned 36 in October. So
I was close. I was close.
Almost, yeah. Yeah, man, it's interesting. It's interesting. Especially like some younger folks, like people a little younger than you, we were talking about the other day at work when the one girl, she was having to go through all the chat, and I had to explain to her what some of the stuff that was mentioned was. It's like a weird, it's like a reverse boomer kind of thing, you know? It's like, oh, come on, you're not hip with the kids? Come on.
I mean, that story is great, but I don't think you'll ever be able to top like your own personal story of when you commented on that dude's picture, and you had to go to the fucking Triad's office and explain what pegging is. Like, welcome in, Master Chief. I stand by it. You should have told me at the time. Like, well, I think you know. Like, let's be real. You know what that means.
Yeah, you know what that is.
But if not, I'll give you a live demonstration and just start pulling some stuff out of a bag.
Yeah, and then having him have to explain the plot line to Harry Potter, because I've never seen or read it, to explain why calling someone Draco Malfoy was an insult.
Which I think is hilarious. Like, is it that big of a deal that now you have to explain the plot? Like, well, let's start at the beginning. CMC, what's the first one? Sorcerer's Stone. Like, take me through the plot here. Let's find out where this starts.
I want the character development to understand why this is a bad thing.
Because if you try to explain Draco Malfoy, I'd be like, it seems like he's being misunderstood. I don't think he's a bad guy at all.
Just sounds like a standard angsty teen to me.
Yeah. Another one Alex posted was about the realistic possibility of Kanye West running for president. There's not a whole lot to get in there because he's been talking about that since 2015, 2016?
That sounds about right. Because I think
it was like as Trump was running. No, it would have been 2017, 2018. It was after Trump was elected. He started meeting with Trump about like running for president.
Him and The Rock.
Yeah. That's it's not like it's legitimate that he has an intention to run, but it's not going to happen, dog. That dude's batshit crazy. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Especially everything that's happened in the last couple of years. There's no way.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
no
With
way.
this anti-Semitism, no.
Yeah, yeah.
That's because that's what we need. Like, that's the start of Hitler Jr. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, yeah,
This guy's clearly said that Hitler was a good guy. You want to elect him as president? Like, no.
yeah.
I'm a big fan of separating the artist from the art. So, like, I like old Kanye mostly, but I like his music. But I cannot support that guy at a personal basis.
Yeah, for sure.
Bud Knight returns. You want to talk about that?
And all the hilarious memes that have ensued. I think, yeah, obviously you got to try and somehow rebound from the Devin Mulaney fallout. Because I mean, that just completely not knowing your audience and then going with all that. That was, I mean, everyone knows what kind of there's almost like demographics that drink different kinds of beers, and then you just shot and missed big time with that. So obviously the Bud Knight was a huge success, like especially during the Super Bowl and the Dilly Dilly, like that was nailing it. So going back to what worked is obviously I think a good move for them. Taking the John Wick line, I mean, I guess you're just trying to hit as many markets as you can. I don't know if I would try it like that. You could, yeah, I mean, that's a tough one to recover, especially the group of people that they've more or less alienated.
Yeah, so I agree. Like, the Bud Knight was huge. Like, it was such a huge success. And they were just trying to try something again, I guess. But
yeah,
the result of this one, do you know the number, or can you guess the number of what their losses were so far?
From the Mulaney thing or the Bud Knight?
Ever since the Mulaney thing. Guess how much money they've lost.
It's got to be billions.
Yes, $27 billion in market value. And just recently it lost another 4% stock drop, which is insane. So yeah, you got to do something to try and stop the hemorrhaging.
Yeah.
And I think the Bud Knight is a good way to do that. But the fact that the public is just let's see if I can pull up one of those memes of Bud Knight meme.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to need more than that armor to survive this heavy fire.
Yeah, some of these are wildly inappropriate. Not that I really care, but I don't know. Yep, I'm going to stop searching that. It's getting really weird. But of the Scooby-Doo meme of taking his helmet off, and it's just Dylan Mulvaney.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are seeing through it, and they understand that this is Anheuser-Busch trying to recover from this absolute disaster that happened, but I don't know if it's going to be enough.
Yeah, and I think the GIF that they posted was kind of half-assed, it just looks kind of weird. If you really want to try and recover from this, you have to put, invest money and time into it, and it just kind of feels like, the Bud Knight, that works, and yeah, and then they threw it on someone, and they're like, good enough, just turn the lights down, they won't know.
What if they take the polar opposite approach and just have the Bud Knight just slicing people down, and he's like, I'm only a straight white male, and just throw it in the face of previous stuff. Oh,
I mean, it could work. I mean, the demographic might be about it.
I don't know. I don't know about that one. Listen, Anheuser-Busch, if you're listening to our inaugural podcast for some reason, don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't do that. It's a bad idea. It was just, that was what we call satire. Okay, please.
Yes.
But yeah. Let's see. Man, Alex is just dumping suggestions in here too. So the viability of professional gaming, specifically esports, comparable to traditional professional sports, I don't see that ever happening. It's growing, yeah, and major esports events are pretty cool. I recently went to the Rocket League major in San Diego. It was pretty cool, but it's not the same. Like it's cool, but not the same. It has caught multiple like major investors, and including the military. Actually, the military has their own esports teams that they go out and participate. They're usually complete dog shit, and they get shit on. But that's not their point. Isn't to win. Their point is to advertise. And with so much of the younger audience these days being into gaming, that was their way of like, okay, look, we're hip and cool. We can play video games. We play the Hallows and the Call of Duties. You want the real Call of Duty experience? Come over to the Army where we'll stand watch for 12 hours and stare at a sandbox. Like,
have fun standing gate duty for 12 hours in Lemoore, California.
Yeah.
Enjoy that 120-degree heat. Yeah. Thanks for your service.
You thought it was fun until you're holding those 180 rounds on your 5.56 on your chest and sitting there with 2 plates in. By the way, you don't put all 3 plates in the front. That's not how that works. And also, you're going to fall over forward if you do that. So, but yeah, it's interesting. And some of the player contracts and stuff, could be compared somewhat to major sports. But like your sports contracts, you're talking like, hundreds of millions of dollars for contracts. Esports, you're talking like 100,000. Like, I think if you're going to do anything, you're going to compare it to. Oh, it's going to get hot. It's going to get a hot topic in here. It's going to get compared to women's sports. In that level of like viewership and networking and pay as well. I think it's more comparable to that than like other major sports. I don't know.
Yeah, no. To your point about the women's thing, it's basically about money. So it's all got to come from somewhere. So someone's got to give it up in order to get a return on it.
Yeah.
So if you want this to be successful, someone's got to pay for it, and then it's got to be successful enough for them to get a return on it to profit from it. Because I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Yep.
So I think you got to get the right investors involved. I mean, there's definitely, like Rocket League's, like you mentioned, that's a good one. Call of Duty. I know that exists, but I don't really think that one's really as big.
Well, it was a lot more popular about 10-ish years ago, but recently it's kind of fell to the side. I think the popular.
You got like League of Legends is a big one.
Yep.
Yeah, and I just don't think that one's as big as of a market. That's more in the Asian market though. It's not so much here in the States that I'm aware of. I mean, I could be wrong, but
no, you're right.
I just feel like in the States it's pretty much Rocket League, like maybe Madden. I know there's some virtual like leagues for like NHL and FIFA and stuff.
Yeah, but they're not really like I've never even heard of an esports event for like any EA game really, but other games would be like Super Smash Bros. Is a huge.
Mm-hmm. Fighting ones, yeah.
But they're not on the level of like Rocket League and League of Legends of like you don't like for Rocket League and League of Legends you go to big arenas and they have like stadium seatings and light shows and like concerts and like stuff that you would see at a normal sporting event. Whereas like Super Smash Bros, it's like 2 dudes
like
in front
cafeteria.
of a it's like it's like a little like high school theater. They still throw crazy numbers, but if that's what you're going to go for, you're never going to reach the level of regular sports. You'd have to have the extra shit of just light shows, fireworks, fucking pyro going everywhere. And at the end of the day, like I did feel silly sitting there. It was cool, like because especially Rocket League. Rocket League has a lot of EDM music built into it. What's that artist?
Monster Cat.
Monster Cat. Yeah, so like they're playing music the whole time. They got light shows going. It's really intense, really cool. But then the game starts, and I'm like, why am I just watching a larger monitor? Like, I can't see much. I'm just watching like what I could watch on Twitch. Yeah. So luckily I didn't pay for it. Shout out to Team Regiment for giving me the tickets for that. So I didn't have to pay for it. I would have had to pay extra to actually sit in the like major seats to see much, but it was still cool to see the whole thing happen. But at the end of the day, it's like I'm just watching someone else play a video game on a screen and like a projector essentially, when I could be doing that at home. So, but
Yeah, I think the other issue too that you have with like esports is longevity, because not every game. There's only a handful of games that like withstand the test of time, if you will, or at least let's say 5-10 years. There's how many games can you say that you've consistently played or kept interest in for that long, that throughout that entire time?
like three.
It's a very it's a very short list. So then, you know, for the most part, you could probably say that like a lot of people have the same like top 3 or 5 games
Yeah.
over that time span. But then, again, it comes down to, can you get people who are good at the game and maintain interest in it? Because sports, there's always going to, everyone. I think the change in players and everything always makes it interesting. And then it's also, I think, a little difficult too, because like you can associate teams to like locations and stuff. So
Yeah.
like there's always a location to go to watch this event. I think because everyone lives in different parts of the world and whatnot, and you might have American, but yeah, let's say like Rocket League, for example. I mean, I think, well, maybe not Rocket League, just because like a lot of those teams have houses that they all stay in, so it's a little bit different. But for some of these sports, or games, you would need to like move to a location, kind of like how Call of Duty has the kind of like what Call of Duty's been doing with their esports is like they have
Yeah.
teams in cities. But then again, yeah, it's just kind of weird, yeah, because like you're saying, like you're just watching the same thing you could watch on Twitch, which obviously I don't think the environment is different enough to entice people to go to it, because like I don't like baseball. I won't watch it on TV, but I'll go to a baseball game in person just because like the environment is so different than
Yep.
watching it from TV. Football, especially like college football, is so different in person than it is watching it from your TV. Whereas like if you go watch like a Halo or Smash Bros event or whatever, like yeah, you got an outside shot at maybe meeting some of the players, but I mean,
Yeah.
I could just be doing this from the comfort of my home on Twitch or
Yeah,
whatever.
that was something I was going to talk about actually. Of like baseball, I am a baseball fan. I don't watch it religiously or anything. I'm a Seattle Mariners fan. It's the only MLB team that's never been to the World Series. It's a very shitty life, but
Yeah, right there with you.
yeah, but like watching baseball on TV is got to be one of the most boring things I've ever done in my life. It's right there with watching golf on TV. It's just like, fucking goddamn, man. But going to a baseball game in person is awesome.
Yeah,
It's it's the environment 100%,
Yep.
and having fun with it. There are some flip sides to that, though. Although I agree with the college football one, going to an NFL game is almost worse than golf and baseball. Like NFL games in person, it's just like every 2 seconds, commercial break. You can't see what's going on. You're paying $400+ for nosebleed
Yeah.
seats to where you can't see anything. You get
yeah, and you see why there's so many commercials.
yeah. You get a lot better experience watching that on TV than you do in person, because you have
Yeah.
the announcers of like, okay, they're running the screen here. It'd be really good if they run like the defense runs a zone defense, and like they give like analysis that doesn't happen in person. So you're just sitting there and you're like, I think he has the ball. Nope, that guy has the ball. He's down, I think. What's happening? I think it's a penalty.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Like pretty shitty.
yeah. I only watch Red Zone. That's the only way I watch NFL.
I'll watch NFL games on TV, but that's about it. But yeah, you have to have that extra stuff of like part of the things that draw people to baseball is one, beer. Like you go there for the beer and the nachos, hot dogs, stuff like that.
And the glizzies.
Yeah, but also you have like the announcers, and then you have like the walk-on music, and you have the dude playing like the organ. You have like, the mascots doing races in between innings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of extra stuff happening. It's not just the game.
Yeah.
So if you want esports to be anything like that, you have to keep that mentality of like I said, music, fireworks, fucking boom, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. There might be some. You also brought up a good point. Like, for example, professional teams like G2. G2 was one of my favorites when I was really into like Siege esports, Rainbow Six Siege. But G2 itself, they have teams in like 4 different continents. So like you can be a fan of the team, like I'm a fan of G2, but it's all over the place and they move all the time too. So it's like hard to like. I'm from the U.S., so I'm a huge fan of this team because next year they might be in Brazil. You have no idea. It's crazy. Environmental activism. Yeah, I'm not talking about that.
Well, do you want to dive into all the social media stuff?
Yeah, kick it off.
Yeah, so we've kind of mentioned a couple of different social media stuff like Twitter and TikTok and stuff. I think a lot of it is trying to control your algorithm as best you can. So Facebook, it's kind of limited just because it's basically just who your friends are, and then I don't follow pages on Facebook other that aren't related to like my work or locations. So like Facebook is more or less like just like where like memes and then just like personal stuff more or less. And then Instagram is what it is. And then Twitter for me is where I get a lot of news or at least tips on what's going on. And then that's just because of like the people I follow and then, their algorithms see into like, all right, these are the kind of people I follow. So they probably want to see more stuff on like, it's like open source information on like world events is basically what my Twitter feed mostly is. And then there's a couple of like Premier League and women's Super League stuff in there. And then TikTok is a little bit of everything. Because like we mentioned before, we've both gotten tippers more or less from TikTok, like, hey, like this thing's going on. And then we'll obviously go look somewhere else and make sure like, oh, this is a real thing. This is actually happening. And that's just because of like how I feel like our algorithms are very similar because like we send each other TikToks all the time. And then there's been many a times really at this point where we've sent videos to each other and like, oh, I just saw this one, or like, yeah, I saw that one the other day or whatever. So like our algorithms are pretty close, and it's a variety of whatever's trending right now, and then news and just come out some other stuff. I don't think it's a great source for like tipper information, and then sometimes like actual information, but it also can be an outlet for laughs and memes and stuff. In healthy doses, we were just talking about Snapchat before this. I had actually only really downloaded it because, as we've mentioned, I'm older, so it's a little bit. I never really was into Snapchat just because I was married for several years, and I think, at least from my perspective, Snapchat was not for me, and nor the intent for it or what it was used for a while. So I never had it, and then really only downloaded it because one of the girls that we used to work with, that was like how she liked to communicate for whatever reason, and so I was like, all right, cool. And then that was really the only reason I really had it for a while, and then I actually just deleted it the other day just because like. Honestly, I got tired of it constantly being like, oh, you have new friend suggestions, and I'm like, I don't even use this thing to talk to the actual friends that I have. So,
like, gave me another topic off that, honestly, but like Snapchat was really used for like nudes. Let's be real. Like you want to exchange shit that like is going to disappear fast.
Yep.
You want to send some sussy shit. Like one time, I got really drunk. And I accidentally posted a picture of my nuts on my story. Like I grabbed my shaft and like held it to the side, took a picture of my nuts and posted it on my story. Fell asleep, woke up in the morning. I had like 5 messages of friends of like, yo, what the fuck? And then some people were like, and I looked at it and I was like, oh no, that's the ultimate mistake. But
never drinking Snap.
Never drinking Snap, dude. I deleted that. I posted that posted like another story because I was like, how do you recover from that? Like, you just posted a picture of nuts with no context, no caption, nothing. Just like, here's a picture of my balls. So I was like, haha, funny prank, huh? Like, that was it. Like, even like me posting, I was like, oh god, I don't know. It was a prank.
I think the best way to recover is just like a black screen. It says D's.
Yeah, I had my fair share of like bad mistakes while drinking and snapping. So, but yeah, like it used to be. Like I said before this, like Facebook could go in, check my notifications, and then scroll through some stuff, whatever.
Yep.
Then go to Instagram, check a couple people's stories, scroll through some posts, whatever. And then Snapchat, I'd watch people's stories. I don't even do that anymore. Like,
Yep.
I won't open Snapchat unless I get notifications. And most of the time, it's just like me sending random pictures to my friends. Of like, yesterday I did a gun shoot for like 14 hours. So I sent like a picture of like, just got here, haha. And then like 14 hours later, it's like, still here, haha. Like, it fucking ain't my life. Or like, I'll send like a really close picture of like my forehead and eyes only. Like, you have gaming on your phone. Stuff like that. Like, it's stupid. And yeah, I've thought about deleting it, but there's some people that, like you said, like some people prefer, like that's my only way to contact them. A lot of people are deleting social media now these days, and for some reason, some of them are keeping Snapchat of all things. But
yeah,
that's the only reason. Outside of that, I don't even really open it. So yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about healthy moderation and just controlling your algorithm as best you can, which was kind of one of the reasons behind the attempt at banning TikTok in the States. Is there wasn't a company in the States that could control the algorithm, or basically the government couldn't readily access.
But that trial was so funny, dude, because they're like, well, now when I open the Tiki-Talkies, does it connect to my home Wi-Fi? Like,
yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you use your Wi-Fi and you use that to get your internet, then yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so that then allows access to other systems in the Wi-Fi's. Nope, that's not how that works.
Mm-hmm.
Like, almost got you. Dude, that whole...
Didn't like one or two of them out themselves on what their algorithms were? Because like they're talking about like all they see is like underage like girls dancing or something like
thirst
that.
Traps, yeah. It's like, your app only seems to show underage thirst traps. Like, well, the algorithm is based on what posts you interact with. So if you've been interacting with underage girls dancing inappropriately, then that's what you would show on your For You page. And it's just like, ooh,
Ooh,
wait a minute.
Close to home there, huh?
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I know what I was going to say to build off of Snapchat. One of my old favorite comedians, Chris D'Elia. A lot of his shit got outed because he got outed as like a groomer / predator, and a lot of his shit got outed by Snapchat because he thought when you send those texts and those pictures that they're gone forever. No, Snapchat keeps a record of all of them, so that definitely hurt. And even then, like I didn't think any of it was true because like he did the right thing of like someone would post something of like, yeah, look, like he tried to groom me when I was like 16. He ignored the fact that I was 16, even though they went to an 18 and up venue to watch the 18 and up show. So in my head I was like, okay, this seems unlikely this all happened. And he also posted like evidence of like, yeah, when she said she was 16, I stopped all contact. So he posted evidence supporting like his defense. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to listen to that shit. Again, I like to separate the artist from the art. So I was like, I'll listen to his podcast and I'll listen to his stand-up and stuff like that. Like, that's not a big deal. And then that documentary came out on YouTube. I don't know if you ever watched it, but let's see. I'll just pull up. Oh, I just typed into you. Also, the fact that he played a child predator on Workaholics and You kind of.
He's like, I look, I know a thing or two.
Yeah.
Minimal research needed.
The Crystalia problem. Right there. It's got 1 million views from Kyle Anderson. And he, like, deep dives into, like, everything that's been going on, the evidence, what his counter arguments, and, like, the fact that basically after all these accusations and after he was quote unquote canceled, he still ended up doing the same shit. Like, he like apologized. He's married and has a kid and shit. He always talks about like how much he loves his family. That's what he cares about. He went to therapy, all this stuff. So again, when this all happened, because he did admit to cheating on his wife and like that he was like addicted to sex and stuff like that. So, and he went to like therapy and all this stuff. And I was like, cool. Like he fucked up, admitted he fucked up to what he actually fucked up, and then he's fixing it. Great. Yeah, it turns out he is continuing contact with those same people that he was cheating on his wife. He has like separate houses for them and shit like that.
Jesus.
And continued the whole time. And some people are actually starting to think that his wife is kind of in on it now. So, yeah, I've stopped supporting the guy completely. But, yeah, there's a funny video of like he was on some sort of the show.
Are you talking about when he's on with Theo Vaughn?
I don't think it was on Theo Vaughn. Maybe, but he was talking about Snapchat and how Snapchat actually, like, he was like, yeah, but that shit goes away. And like, no, it doesn't. It gets kept in records. And, like, the discomfort on Chris's face, and I'm like, uh-oh. Like, he was like, oh, no. Yeah.
I thought you were going to talk about the when he was on with Theo Vaughn, and he was telling his story about when he was in college, and he was like in a big, like, there's like a 100-person like classroom, and the teacher was like, statistically, 2 of you are going to be what did he say? Not child molest, like something like child molesters or something like that.
Predator or something like that.
Or yeah. And then Theo Vaughn said he stood up and said, "Not it." And then it was, and it was to Chris D'Elia.
Oh,
he was telling that story.
Oh man, that's rough.
Yeah, that was a good bit.
All right, well, you want to go ahead and wrap for our first episode?
That sounds good, man. I think
like covered
lot. Quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, thank you to the 7 people that are probably going to listen to this for a while. We appreciate your guys' support, and give us some suggestions as well. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Discord, or come in and watch our streams. I know Brett's getting ready to start streaming himself, and right now currently I'm switching from Twitch to Kick, so I'll post all the links after this, and you can go ahead and throw us some follows. It'd be greatly appreciated. We're going to be posting this on YouTube and probably several other podcasting applications, maybe Spotify, stuff like that. So give us a follow and hang out with us, and some suggestions for the future would be great. You got anything else, Brett? You want to shout anyone out or anything?
Shout out to Alex for some great topics to discuss, and shout out to you, man. You're awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for watching, everyone, and see you later. Bye.